Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It's Chris, joined by Ben for outerrimtransmission. This is episode 121. We are talking about arguably one of the best Star Wars episodes I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to just put it out there right up front. We're talking about Ahsoka episode 4, part 4, titled Fallen Jedi. Yeah, it doesn't get more spicy than that for a episode title, and there is so much to get into. We're gonna have Milton joining us shortly. His NFL season is back, so there might be a couple of weeks here where we have some latecomers, either Ben or him, but I'll be holding the fort down, that's for sure. Every Sunday here at 7 p.m. I'll be on. But how's it going, Ben?
Good. I mean, it was a great way for me to start my NFL season with my team winning, so that was nice. And then I'm just so excited for this week's episode of our podcast to talk about this. You know, we haven't really like gone too crazy talking about it in our group chat this week because we're just waiting until this episode. So that's been so much anticipation. Like I texted my one friend and was like, "Man, I just need next Tuesday to be here already because I'm so excited to like see this next episode because it's going to be a special one, in my opinion. Well, not even in my opinion. I think just factually, it's going to be a special one just because the fact that, the way they're going to premiere the episode in certain locations and things, which we'll get into, like, they obviously have faith in this week's episode coming up. So it's so exciting knowing that, we have something really good cooking here in just 48 hours from now, basically.
Yeah, I really haven't been as excited about a Star Wars anything in a while, probably since Jedi Survivor. I know that's not saying much because that game came out earlier this year, but still, this is a high point. And I don't want to get too deep into the episode just yet, but I feel like every episode has gotten better and better and better. So it's really nice to see that the trend continues here, and we're gonna just basically dive right into this thing, man.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Let's.
Yeah.
We have plenty to talk about tonight. I mean, gosh, we could probably talk about this episode for 3 hours if we had
Oh
to.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Like,
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. First, we're gonna have some business to attend to. If you are watching us, feel free to listen to us on any of your podcast streaming apps of choice. Spotify, Apple Music are our choice for you to go to because you can review our podcast there and let us spread the public knowledge of this awesome, positive Star Wars community. And if you are listening, thank you very much. Go ahead and check us out live every Sunday around 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We're talking the latest in Star Wars, and you can get involved with our chat every single week. So, we also have 2 releases in Star Wars this week. We have both tying into the Dark Droids event for Marvel. We have Star Wars issue number 38. We have Dark Droids issue number 2. I'm going to give a shout out to the Star Wars Underworld because the last couple weeks I have been on there with Matthew breaking down the latest in the comics every week. So I have my reviews on the channel, which are the quick 5-minute snapshot of, okay, this is what you need to know. And then if you want more of a heavier discussion, 30 minutes or more, then you can go ahead and check us out at the lunchtime stream, as we call it. We usually go live around 12 p.m. on Thursdays. So there you have it. There you go.
Hey, I mean, that's a great way to get your knowledge on all of those different like comics and, like you said, it's like a nice way also to like tune in for if you need something to listen to like during a lunch hour.
Yeah, it is really fun. I've enjoyed it because I'm so used to just talking to the camera all the time and not having interaction with anybody else when it comes to the comics. So Matthew's just as passionate as I am about those things, so it's always fun doing that. But yeah, man, I guess I'll just throw it over to you. What was your first kind of reaction to the episode? Because this is a hefty one here.
I mean, for me, this, I think, to me, was the best. Like you said, it's arguably, it's in my, like, top tier, like, probably top 3 episodes of Star Wars shows, period, I would say. Like, it's right there with all, like to me, you have, you have, like, the Luke rescue mission episode from Mando Season 2, which is up there. You have, I mean... Like, see, that's the hard thing to think about. Like, you have that episode, which I think that's, like, peak. Like, that's, I don't know, that... When Luke appeared, I don't know, I feel like that's a moment no Star Wars fan will ever forget when they watch that episode. So, like, I think that, to me, is number 1. This is either 2 or 3. Like, it has to be, because, like, if you get thinking about it, like, you may have been excited about other shows or things like from other seasons of things, but it's like what really like popped that big for you? And it's like it's the Luke episode, it's this episode. Um, like those are the main two. Like this is top two, top three, I think, for me when it comes to Star Wars television, just because of like the implications and everything of what it could become. And then I think, you know, I don't know what else would be in the top three right now, like off the top of my head, because we've seen so much Star Wars. But I think this one is for sure in the top three for me, in general.
Yeah, when it comes to it, I think of the animation. I think of the Clone Wars, the final episode, just the entire Siege of Mandalore arc is incredible. I think, like you said, of the Luke Skywalker episode. There's a lot of Andor episodes that stand out to me, kind of One Way Out on the Narcanis prison planet. The last episode, just so many moments there. This definitely, what really strikes me about this episode is, and not getting too far ahead, is even before the big reveal at the end, I was already thinking in my head, this is one of the strongest Star Wars episodes yet. And then that happened, and it was like, okay, this is just amazing now.
Well, that's the funny thing. I mean, our listeners and you guys know, like I know a lot of, I know different things about this series. Like this was something that wasn't out there or ever. Like this is something that surprised, even people in the know. So like that was a big surprise to me. Like that was a genuine surprise. Like I did not expect that to be coming. Like I was expecting a potential, like obviously Anakin this coming week, just because like Rosario and Dave, the way they've talked about the 5th episode, but so I wasn't expecting this to include him at all. It's like it was really actually shocking to me, for me like being in the know, and then like the way it ended, I was like, whoa, hold on. When you heard Anakin's voice when it cut, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're actually gonna go there already. So to me, like the episode, like you said, it offered, even if you cut that whole sequence out, the episode still is really, really strong storytelling, action, good character work for everybody involved. Like characters making choices, like Sabine. You have them, and it just was overall like a really great episode. Like there to me, I just really had a good time with it, and it's just one of those Star Wars episodes that are so rewatchable too. Like I rewatched it 3 times this week, and it's just like doesn't get old. And then yeah, I think there's so much to talk about with this one.
Yeah, so this episode really hits a lot of awesome Star Wars moments that kind of call back to me on other Star Wars things.
Well, one thing I want to throw in there too, when you get to the callback moments. I think we have Milton joining us.
Oh, okay, hold on. All right, we are going to go backstage. We're still going to talk, but this also
like, when it comes to this show, it's no different. These runtimes keep popping out there. We have, so like this past week, it was 32 minutes with, with the without the credits and stuff, and it turned out to be a really good episode. And then this week, it was 37 minutes without the credits, and it turned out to be, top three Star Wars television potentially all time under, especially the Disney umbrella. So you have these sorts of things, just proving you can tell quality stories if you have a runtime. Don't get me wrong, I'm always a person, I think all shows for streaming should be mandated to the 42-minute network television runtime, minimum. I think that should be a thing. But even at that, this shows that you can tell quality stories with a lower runtime. Which, speaking of runtimes, just to throw out there for everybody, this coming week's episode is 49 minutes and 55 seconds. So it's basically 50 minutes. You cut off the credits and stuff. We're looking at 46, 47 minutes.
All right.
So it's gonna be a nice, good episode, and it's good that it's that length too, with how special it's gonna be, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, we got Milton joining us, so it's all three of us. You weren't here last week, Milton, but do you want to tell us your overall thoughts about Ahsoka so far, the last 2 episodes you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, so far, I like the show. The show has not been bad to me. Has it had their slow moments that seemed a little different? Yeah, but I mean, the show's doing what it needs to do. I think we're at the midway point. So from what I've seen so far, I've been pretty happy with the show. It's consistently what it is. I thought last week's episode was pretty spectacular for what it was. I loved how it ended. I thought it was a very perfect episode for what Star Wars has been over the last couple years when it comes to their shows. So I really enjoy what I'm seeing. Hopefully the second half and the finale of the show continues to, I guess, grow or crescendo to a point to where, we really want to see more. So, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I think what I was saying before about just this episode had every little thing I love about Star Wars in it. Basically, it's all right, we get this awesome moment with a droid fighting a droid. We've never seen that before. You get this great moment of just the overall, that feeling of Rogue One. I really like that feeling of Rogue One, where it's Hera, just the idea of rebelling is so quintessential to Star Wars. Whether it's rebelling against an empire or rebelling against your own people that I just don't think are getting your point, and just saying, okay, screw you, I'm going to do this on my own. And seeing that moment with her in the X-Wings, in space with the Ghost, was a huge, clapping moment for me. Yes, we're finally getting it. Seeing some of the best, I'll say right now, some of the best Star Wars lightsabers duels I've seen in a long time, man. It was just chock full of action. So much action was in this darn thing. And then just uncovering, like you said, the choice, Ben, the choice about having to make this big decision that's going to be huge ramifications, and Star Wars doing drama really well. And Star Wars has done drama really well, but sometimes it doesn't really come off that well. And I feel like this moment with Sabine and this moment of Baylan, and the idea of Baylan being such a really strong lead character, and just, I'm so bought in on that moment, and then just the whole thing with Anakin and World Between Worlds. Those were the main moments that stood out to me. There was so much tension in this episode. It's directed, I think, by Steph Green, right, Ben?
No, it was directed by
oh, wait, no, the other guy. Those were the other 2 episodes. Sorry.
Yep, Peter Ramsey. He was what was he involved in? Game of Thrones, maybe?
It definitely sounds familiar. But let's do like we always do. We start back from the beginning of the episode, because there's just so much to talk about that I think starting in a sequence will be the easiest way to get through all these talking points here. But what was your overall thought on this whole little skirmish that happened between a Mandalorian and a Jedi fighting in unison against droids and everything like that? I'll throw it over to you, Milton. What were your thoughts, first off, of seeing Huang defending himself the way he was? That got a kick out of it. I was not expecting that. That was really cool.
I wasn't surprised. He's been training Jedi for thousands of years.
Sure.
So you at least know he'd have some type of defensive capability to protect himself. and some offensive capability to, do some damage. But we all know he ain't RoboCop, so he ain't really killing anybody. So I wasn't shocked. It was cool to see that little battle. It was cool how, we knew we're in for this episode, how they started it with that particular standoff with the assassin droids or whatever they were. And it was cool to see how Balin, because I know they featured him prior to that attack, and how I think she said, "Do you hint? Is that a hint of fear or something?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, that's experience."
Yep.
He knows Ahsoka's no joke. Ahsoka, it won't be easy to take down no matter what we send at her. It isn't the end all be all. It's more just it's more of a obstacle in her way.
Mm-hmm.
A bridge for them to like kind of shield them away from her so they can get their stuff done. So he knew that they would get their asses kicked. So no, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I like the dialogue that's spoken between Ahsoka and Sabine. Again, like I was really stiff, or I thought the dialogue was really stiff. I was really down on it the premiere episode. I was like, okay, this just feels very stale, very stagnant, very sterile, these conversations that they're having. And now this dialogue is becoming more human, I guess, or just more of emotion, because there's this choice that they're saying in the beginning, and it comes back at the end of the episode too, full circle, with Ahsoka saying, in case we can't get to Ezra, essentially no one else should, meaning they should destroy this thing. And Sabine doesn't even hesitate for a second. Like, of course, I'll do what needs to be done, no doubt. Like instant, like she's bought in. Then we see what happens later on in the episode. So I like how there is that quiet moment of what needs to be done, putting us into those moments. So that choice later on in the episode hurts us even more. What about you, Ben? What did you think about this entire sequence?
Yeah, like the entire sequence, like the droid fight, all that, with and then Ahsoka and Sabine and everybody fighting, like I thought it was great. And I just really, you had a good time with it. All the characters, like, had their struggles, had their battles. Like, of course, you had Sabine and Shin stuff. You had Huyang fighting his opponents. You had Ahsoka versus Marrok. It was such a good overall sequence between like all the characters, like getting their fights in, basically. And Dave promised that before the series. He was like, hey, like our fans know lightsaber fighting, so like we made sure to like give them what they want. So he did a good job on it. He's fulfilling his promises on it, so it's nice to see that. Yeah, like just the visuals, like I'm impressed more and more by the visuals each week. Like the lightsabers look great. Just the way all of this is like getting shot and done, I think is looking really well. So yeah, that's kind of like my like initial take on the action. And also I do want to throw in there to like our prior little talk about the directors. So Peter Ramsey, sounds familiar because he directed Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
really?
So that's who directed last week's episode.
Well, that explains it, because that movie was incredible.
Yep.
Oh, that explains it. But yeah, I mean, I like the idea of this awesome Star Wars moment when you have a Mandalorian fighting back to back with a Jedi. That to me was really striking. We've seen a lot of these types of characters on their own. I believe there's only one moment we've actually seen them unite, and that was in the actual first episode that Ahsoka appeared in Mandalorian versus her and Din Djarin. But just seeing that there is that connection between Master and Apprentice, where, for instance, there's a combo move that's done where Sabine uses a whipcord on one of those enemies and then brings it in, Ahsoka just slashes the guy. I love stuff like that. It happens a lot in Marvel Universe, tag teaming moves like that. So it was really neat to see like Huyang also acknowledge that and be like, hey, you guys work great together. Don't separate. You do well when you're working together,
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it kind of like sets up, the foundation more and more of like the forecasting for us going into the future of them like working together. Just in the back half of this season, because like if you think about it, guys, like now we pretty much have everything we've seen from the trailers wrapped up. Like it's pretty much done. So now we're like kind of just going into the dark, which is a nice feeling.
Oh yeah, I love this part when it comes to Star Wars series and movies. It's like, okay, we are going into the unknown. Anything's possible. What planet are they going to show us where Thrawn is? There's the unknown regions. Like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what that looks like. We have Alex Elkins in the chat saying best episode in Star Wars history, and there's a chance next week's could be even better. Yeah, as Ben said, they're showing this in theaters. There's a good reason why. There's got to be some really amazing stuff that's about to happen. We'll get into that. We'll get into our speculation at the end of the episode here. Moving along, though, I mean, if you thought this action sequence was awesome, the next one is maybe even better. And that's when we have two characters fighting side to side with two adversaries. We have Ahsoka versus the prior Inquisitor of Marrok, and then Shin with a rematch against Sabine. I thought this was fantastic. As I watched this episode a second time, I took extra care to look at the choreography and the fighting. And just seeing the interaction of the lightsabers hitting the trees are falling over as they're fighting. It kind of reminded me a little bit, and I don't want to make you mad, Milton, because let me back myself up on this. But it reminded me of The Force Awakens with Kylo Ren and Rey fighting in the forest on Starkiller Base, and like the trees are falling over. Except in this battle, it is a much better choreography, I will say.
A better choreography for a TV show versus a movie.
No, I mean, and listen, I'll just go next. I'll get into that. So, I enjoyed that particular battle. You know, I mean, all the fighting in this show has been pretty solid. But I thought the dueling in this episode was up to par. And it's like, you know, this is what we deserve, what we should have been getting. And I'm not gonna shit on the sequels today. It's not about that. I just thought that Dave Filoni did a really good job at bringing what he brought. I mean, his team of people, and I can't just put it all on him. His team of people that have been doing the action sequences, and I'm not just talking about the saber duels. Look at the space battles. Look at the visuals. I mean, you can tell that this show is cared about because everything that they're doing is very much a cinematic type of production. This is a streaming platform with 8 episodes. They had to have spent a movie budget for this. And you can clearly see it in the fightings. I mean, you can. I was just listening to Star Wars Theory, one of his old episodes from like a couple weeks ago, when he was talking about Nick Gilliard.
Yeah.
Dude, this looks like Nick Gilliard was coordinating these battles.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we need that type of fighting.
Oh yeah.
Because human beings like speed. They like to see the next thing. Yeah, we like it to be slow once in a while, but we love it everything to be fast and quick. So this was the perfect battle. This is a perfect action sequences. So I can't complain. And that comment about The Force Awakens, that's fine. I didn't mind that particular battle. It's just I didn't like the outcome.
Yeah. When it comes to this battle, I think one element, Milton, that was missing, or that has been missing from all of Star Wars, there's a lot of great callbacks that George Lucas has done with Akira Kurosawa. A lot of these samurai-esque, you know, Seven Samurai, stuff like that. All those movies that he did. Big influence for George Lucas. And oh my gosh, Dave Filoni just absolutely... And again, there's other people involved besides him, but he was the one that wrote the story, created the story, and it's involved in every piece of this thing. Getting to see Ahsoka, like, actually slow down, using forms with the saber like she's a samurai. Like, it's the first time I've actually really felt like Star Wars was a space samurai film in some of those moments where she's taking the time, she's slowing down, the wide angle, the camera's swinging back, especially with, like, Lord Balin. We'll talk about that in a moment. Just, I absolutely love that kind of thing, and it reminded me a lot of Tales of the Jedi when she's fighting Marrok and he's got the spinning saber. She's just taking her time. She's calm, collected. Reminded me of Obi-Wan versus Maul in Rebels. Just, okay, prepare yourself, focus on the Force, and just one-shots them, basically. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know if you guys picked up on that. I mean, it's pretty obvious, I guess, but I just like the idea of it.
And here's the thing, though, because I'm a huge fan of, like, you know, anime. So, like, I don't know if you ever heard the show called Afro Samurai.
Yeah, I did, actually.
And so, like, even how the samurais fight in that, they're slow, they're particular, but it's fast, too. Like, it's very much an anime way. And they use that Kurosawa element, obviously, in this show, but they use some of those anime elements as well. It's just not cartoonish. So how they fight, like, the samurais makes sense to me. I mean, look. Jedis are samurais. It comes from the word Jedi Geki. I think it's what Jedi is from. So it's like, it's to me, it was perfect.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. I like the whole idea of Sabine at first fighting Shin as a Mandalorian versus a Jedi. And we always hear about the Jedi Mandalorian wars going back to even Knights of the Republic. The reason why the Mandalorians wear the gear they do is because they were prepared to fight against Jedi. And we actually see certain moments where the Beskar armor is able to repel lightsaber blades. And we did see this when Din first went up against Ahsoka in that quick little skirmish there. But still, I like seeing. I love seeing, and we've seen it, obviously with Obi-Wan versus Jango Fett. But I just love to see how, even though, well, we know she's maybe force sensitive, but even though she's not using the force right now, she's still able to put up one hell of a fight between all her gadgets and her just overall, martial training and whatnot.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, if you think about it, like you said, you have Din, you have plenty of the Mandalorians. I mean, I'm sure like if Bo-Katan ran into like a Jedi or a Force type user, like a lot of them could hold their own, because they're just like such, they're like the best warriors in the galaxy basically. So it was cool like seeing her like go up against her again. And also like, talking about her and Shin fighting, like I'm liking Shin characters more and more by the week as well.
Yeah, Shin is a bit of a wild card. I can't quite put my finger on her as far as like how I feel about her right now because she is kind of loyal, but then she also isn't because, just kind of going forward a little bit, the idea that she's choking Sabine at the end, and she has a moment where she hesitates her orders by Balin, but then does eventually give in. Like there is a little bit more to her. She's not just like vanilla. Like there is a hint of like, okay, this gray around her character where it is fun because you simply just don't know what directions he's going to go in at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at like the names and the names of the characters like Shin Hati and Balin Skull. Like if you look up like their whole like Norse meanings and stuff, basically like Balin's is like for the light, and hers is for the darkness. So it just makes you wonder like is that going to be like a forecasting kind of thing for the characters? Like maybe Balin will eventually like be more light side leaning, and then we get her. I don't know, maybe she leans more toward the dark side with like Morgan Elsbeth, for example, or something. So yeah, I think you have that, and like you said, I feel like her character, like she's like so composed and stuff, where it's like you said, it's like a wild card. I don't know what she's gonna do. Like I could, like it wouldn't surprise me one bit at this point with her character, just the way they've done it so far. If we get to a scene like by the end of this show, like I don't know, she just like takes out Balin out of nowhere or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
yep.
I could see that happening just because that's the way they built her character up, where she could either do that or she could help him out. Like it's one or the other with her character, it feels like.
Yeah, now Milton, I know me and Ben are always off, with our tinfoil hats about speculation when it comes to Star Wars, and I think me and Ben were both like really raring to go when it comes to this mysterious masked character of Marrok. So unfortunately to both of us, what happened with this person? What the heck is going on? What is this mist stuff that's just... What is this scream? What is going on with this character?
Darth Smoke Man.
Well, no, I was saying it's the Night Sisters magic.
Yeah, I think so, man.
It just makes sense to look that way, and I told y'all he wasn't nothing special. Because here's the thing though, like they never hyped him up once as a character.
True.
Two, they never said they never actually said his name blah blah is going to be featured. But like they showed him a couple times. But, all right, we knew it wasn't going to be Star Killer. That's why I'm like, okay, no, they're not going to waste that character on that. There's no way. So I mean, it's cool to speculate, but I mean, you got to speculate within reason.
No, yeah. Go ahead, Will.
I think when it comes to like a character like that, I have fun with the speculation side of things, but the thing is, a lot of times people, they can speculate, but they don't leave their speculation at the door when they go into it, So it's like you can't be mad at the creatives for not doing exactly what you were thinking that character was going to be. Like you said, when they didn't hype up that character, for example. And for me with Marrok, it's like, sure, he's not like Star Killer or someone we know or whatever, but it is interesting because you have him basically being like a reanimated Inquisitor potentially with the Night Sister magic, because that's definitely what that was, in my opinion. It's all this smoke and stuff lets out or whatever. Like, it's definitely like Night Sister magic, which is wild, and just like opens up a lot of more potential avenues for this show to go, I think.
Yeah, it's so fun when stuff like this happens in Star Wars. Just these mystery boxes where it's like something is answered. We know that this is not who maybe some of us wanted it to be. But then there's another mystery upon the revelation of what this thing even is. What is this thing? Is it a dead Inquisitor that was risen by Night Sisters? We know they can do that. They've done it in Jedi Fallen Order. They've done it in Clone Wars. It's very curious. I don't know if this is... I mean, I would have to imagine this gets explored further on in the series. You can't just leave it off like that and not address it. So I'm just very curious about what that's going to be. But man, oh man, getting to this big confrontation, I want to talk about this awesome moment with Ahsoka, with Baylan, the dialogue that's shared. We've heard it many times in the trailer about, obviously, Baylan knows about Anakin, knows about what happened to Anakin, and is just kind of pulling at the strings of Ahsoka. And it's interesting because every good villain in anything thinks that they're the hero in something, and this guy doesn't seem outright evil. He's like kind of like Count Dooku. He really reminds me, not only does he look like Count Dooku a little bit, but his personality and just the way he's like very proper. I love his armor, just the way he holds himself, just this stature, this big dude that you don't want to mess with. What was your thoughts on this whole thing with Baylan, Milton?
First, before I get to my point, fly equals fly. We got that victory officially. Let's go. Let's go. How was your boy? Want to know? Baylan. So I like that character. I really enjoy him. I think he's one of the better Star Wars characters when it comes to villains we've received in the last 5 to 6 years. And I mean, I can go back to 7 or 8 years. I can even tie it into sequel trilogy just because he's very complex. He's not. You're right. He thinks he's right. Most villains think they're right. But is he actually a villain? I don't know. I think we need more background information on his past, where he comes from. It's obvious he used to be a part of the Jedi Order and how he delivers his monologues and what he says, especially about Anakin. So he knows a lot of those people that Anakin grew up with. I mean, at this point, he and Anakin are probably, let's say his character's about 50-something years old. So
yeah.
He and Anakin in the Order together at the same time.
Yeah.
Because this takes place, 10 years after Return of the Jedi?
5 or 6 years, something like that, I think.
About
yeah.
6, 7, yeah, 5, 6.
42 at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
He'd be about almost
They're
50.
almost the same age, probably, and within
Right.
reason.
So you knew he was going to come up with Anakin, so it'd be very cool to see if we get anything, if they might show some of his past and how
Oh.
what's his motivation, because he really don't have a motivation. He just says he's looking for like power or whatever he says at one point, or greatness or whatever he says. But I like the character. My brother and I were talking about him the other day. Very complex. He's menacing. Like, he doesn't move fast, but when he attacks, it means something. And you can clearly see that he isn't just some average Jedi. He knows how to use the Force. He knows how to use a saber. And it made sense. This is where great storytelling is told. It made sense that Ahsoka would struggle against him. He ain't no average Jedi. So you know on the block. So I love what we're seeing with him. I cannot wait to see him this upcoming week.
Yeah, I like just when she approaches him and the fact that he's sitting there with his hood over his head in his meditative trance, like he's just meditating, preparing for what is going to be. Like he had said before, he's like talking to the mage or whatever of the Night Sisters. What the heck is her name? The woman there that is talking to Thrawn. Elsbeth, yes, Morgan Elsbeth. And he's like, it would be a shame to kill somebody of the Order or something of that line. Like he really, but like his motivation, I mean, a mercenary is to make money first and foremost. That's how he got hooked up with Morgan Elsbeth. But I like how she had something along the lines of like, oh, you're gonna take over the galaxy or something. And he's like, nah, not me. It's gonna be up to Thrawn. And then when that happens, it's a necessary evil to bring about a new age or something like that. Like, yeah, you have to destroy to create or something along those lines. So again, this is a battle. All the great Star Wars battles are the lightsaber duels have a meaning behind them, and I very much like this meaning because at one point he's actually painting Ahsoka in an evil light when he's saying you're just like your master, tapping into fear and aggression or anger and aggression. And it's like, oh crap, like this is like that paradigm shift where it's like you're running away from the order, just like your master, all this stuff. It's like he ain't wrong, and that's what's scary about it.
Oh yeah, Balin's character is.
Right. You're absolutely right. Go ahead, Ben.
Oh, go on, Milton.
No, I was just saying you're absolutely right. And that point was very interesting when he said about your master, you and your master are all about like destruction or something to that extent. Is that what he says?
Something like that. Yeah.
And it's like, okay. I mean, and I think in his perspective, he's probably right. And I think there is some truth in what he's saying because obviously Anakin led to Darth Vader, was led to wiping out the Jedi and, bringing, a lockdown period to the Galactic Republic. Then you look at Ahsoka's choices and how she was a part of the Jedi Order that was very much, flooded with their own dogma, which then led to them being blinded, which led to their war with, the Separatists. So, yes, she's part of that movement of destruction. And you're right, I think he is very much like a Dooku in the sense of, yes, we have to tear down the old ways to build a new. And I mean, and look, and this is, I guess, to give credit to the sequel trilogy. Kylo was saying that in The Last Jedi. He's like, just forget the past, tear it all down, move forward. So I understand that echoing that philosophy of it.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was great, like, hearing that whole sequence with him, and it makes you wonder, like, what connection he had with him in the past, because he clearly, like, knows who Anakin is. I mean, of course, like, everybody, like, in the Jedi Order would know who Anakin is. Like, he's like the all-star of the Jedis. Like, everybody would know him. But it just, it makes you wonder, because it feels more like he knows Anakin more along the lines of, like, say, a Tarkin or somebody like that who actually knows him.
Okay.
So, like, maybe him and Anakin, like, had a connection, like, in the like at the temple, like, maybe when they were there, maybe even like I've seen people, like, speculate, like, maybe we might get this, like, addressed outside the show or something, but, like, what if, like, his master was, like, like, one of the Jedi, like, what if it was, like, Dooku or somebody, like, when Dooku was there still, or, like, what if it was, like, somebody along those lines. I mean, heck, even Plo Koon, like someone like those, like, just because him having, I think it's either they have a connection, or we have, like, basically an older version of Kylo Ren who's just like really into, like, all the stuff surrounding Anakin, like Anakin's fall, Anakin's rise, all this stuff. So, like, I think there's, like, a lot of different directions they could go with Balin's character, but overall, like you both are saying, it just doesn't, he's not just, like, pure Palpatine, like pure evil. Like, he has his motivations and meanings, and just like goes with it. And that's clear, of course, like you mentioned, Chris, when he's talking to Morgan Elsbeth, like, he's not just worried about, like, galactic conquest, basically. Like, he's more than just that.
Yeah, and this part towards the end of this whole encounter is when he's giving Sabine a choice, and he literally is not grabbing for the map, he's making her come to the conclusion. He's wishing her no harm, and I thought for sure he was gonna just stab her right there. I was like, she's dead, like, this is, we haven't seen anything past this, like, this is Sabine's end, here we go. And no, he lives up to the word to the point where he defends her from his own apprentice that was about to kill her with a force choke. So I like that quality of Balin, where he is a very fair man. He lives by his word. Same thing that happened when he first approaches New Republic security men above that, on that cruiser in the hangar bay. He, like, gave that guy a choice, and the guy just said, screw you, basically. He's like, well, I gave you a chance, and that's when he gets impaled by a lightsaber. So I really like the idea that this guy, he's a trained Jedi, as you said, obviously, Milton and Ben, because he's able to keep into the Force. He's not a Kylo Ren where he's just going to say, screw this, I'm lashing out. The guy is very calm and collected, and he's very calculated. I don't know if we've seen, like, a dark side user, if that's what you want to call him, that is this calculated and kind of just focused like this.
No, I thought it was, I like his character. I'm very impressed with what we're getting with him. I think he he fits this world of Star Wars. He fits what this show's all about. I love that he is very particular in how he delivers his message. And even like you said, he's one of those rare villains that stick to his word. He's like, no harm will come to you. And then an old girl tries to choke her, and he's like, nah, let her go. And I could have easily seen him take out his own apprentice if she wasn't going to listen. So that's what's cool. So yeah, he, in quote unquote, how the kids would say it, Balin slaps heavy when it. So I love it.
Yeah, what do you think his plans are with keeping her alive at this point, like, and taking her prisoner?
I mean, I can see him using her as a few things, but I'll just keep it to these 2 points. I can see him using Sabine as a tool to maybe lure Ezra to be a part of his plan.
Okay.
Because he knows that Ezra is a Jedi and he's very powerful, and maybe he can use Sabine to get Ezra to join his side of things. Again, we don't know his true motivations yet, so we have to remember that. And second, I can see Balin taking an interest in Sabine. Maybe it reminds him of like a lost lover or a daughter or something to that nature. I mean, that's why he has his apprentice. Maybe that's something there. So we'll see. Maybe it's those 2 things to me.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think, yeah, with the first one you mentioned, especially with allure for Ezra. I mean, now here we go again. This guy, he's a clairvoyant Jedi. I don't know if we've seen a Jedi have this ability. I don't know if he did his research and he's like Thrawn, where he knows everything about everybody's backstory, because he takes a moment in that confrontation between Sabine. He takes like a 5-second pause, and you can tell he's like reflecting through the Force. And do you think he's actually tapping into the Force? I guess either of you can answer this one. To learn about her from the past through the Force? Is that what's happening there? Because he did it before when it seems he has an ability, because Morgan asked him to call on some ability about what does our future look like before in a prior episode.
I mean, I would say probably it's something along those lines. Potentially through the Force. It could be potentially, he is a mercenary, so he could be well informed about, Sabine and Ezra's like history. And, like you were saying, Milton, I think there's a chance he would want to bring Sabine along just to be like kind of the chess piece to maybe get Ezra to join him, because like, I mean, what if we have kind of a I don't know, kind of like say a dark side version of quote unquote kind of Luke here, where like, what if Balin, he's obviously fond of the Jedi Order still. What if he wants to start like his version of the Jedi Order with like Ezra, with Sabine, like with Shin, like maybe it's something along those lines to like say, hey Ezra, like join me and like let's bring some power back to the galaxy via a bunch of Force users. Like maybe it's something like that, because why else would you bring Sabine? Which, if it wasn't for an ulterior motive, it would, like, from a bad guy's point of view, if you bring Sabine, it's going to cause you more trouble in the long run, because she, eventually she may reconsider and, not want to do this and then cause you a bunch of problems. Why even bring her along unless you want to use her to get to Ezra?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That's a good point. Is there any other thing you want to say about this sequence here with this awesome duel, either of you?
It was fire. That's all I know. It was great. Like I just feel like this is what we needed. This is what lightsabers should look like. And
yeah.
I get sick and tired of people who say, well, no, it needs to be this way, and then like, I disagree with that. I'm sorry. I have to truly say I respectfully disagree, because yes, the original trilogy lightsabers were what they were. It made sense for that time period of Star Wars. This particular time period of Star Wars, we're dealing with more advanced, leveled up fighters. They need to be better. These guys have been doing it for 20 plus years. These particular characters, when I say that, so that's why it should look this way. So yeah, I loved it. I have no complaints.
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I have no complaints about the way, the fighting was. I thought the entire duel, like we mentioned, like between like Ahsoka and Balin was great. Like it it really felt, I don't know, it just felt like Star Wars. Like all of this stuff in this show really feels like Star Wars, but this really feels like that
Hmm.
entire sequence just felt like something you would see in quote unquote Star Wars. Like it feels like a Star Wars thing. And the fact that like, Balin did so well against Ahsoka after, over all these years, like for all of us hardcore fans, we've built Ahsoka up to be like such a great fighter and all this stuff. And then we have, Dave even talking about like Ahsoka being like a potential superior swordsman than Luke would be at this time and stuff. That was months ago. Like, so, you have those type of things out there. And then like, she struggles with Balin and it's like, whoa, like this guy, means business basically.
Yeah, great build up in this episode because we see two encounters, the one by the ship, the one against Marrok, where we see how superior, how easily Ahsoka handles these two adversaries. And then we're seeing, okay, why is it a big deal that Balin just defeated her? Well, she just easily took out these other guys, and we know how good of a fighter she is. So this guy is really powerful. I think there was a bit of distraction because she thinks that her apprentice died when she sees Shin coming back. She used the Force to lash out. She can't control her anger, I guess, at that moment. And I think that could also lend itself to, just being distracted by her apprentice will let him get the upper hand on her a little bit, I think. But I think the overall feel of the fight was great. Like those swings I felt the impact. Like they weren't messing around. Like this was some legit fight choreography that you feel it in your bones when those sabers are coming together. They're slashing through these stones. I love the set. Just it looked fantastic with like the hologram stuff in the background, the stormy sky. Just really, really great stuff. Transitioning just a little bit to the stuff that's happening with the New Republic. I was really, really happy to see these X-Wing guys show up, especially Carson Teva, because it's like, this makes a lot of sense. This guy's been constantly going out there thinking that, hey, there's something out there that we don't know about. And the fact that he teams up with Hera, I thought that was fantastic that we get to see him out there doing what he did. He's basically like the Nick Fury, I feel like, of the Mandalorian verse. He's showing up in just about everything at this point. So
No, I wouldn't go Nick Fury. I'd probably say more Colson early on.
oh, okay, yeah.
That's actually
That's actually a good one. Yeah.
I don't want to pick Sam Jackson on that.
Yeah, that's actually a great comparison. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Chris. Like, it's cool seeing like, Carson Teva like bouncing around like show to show like this, and then just seeing them show up like the New Republic still having a presence to a degree versus versus this show just feeling like it's like an isolated spinoff somewhere. Like it actually feels like it's connected. Like we just saw Carson in Mando season 3, so now it's like, oh, here we go again. Like, so it's cool just like getting that connective tissue, because that's like the connective tissue bits that like Marvel fans had over all those years, like with Agent Coulson, where it's like, oh, that guy was in this, like, so it's like it's letting these things are happening in the same time frame, like in the same universe, like, so it's good for even say like the casual fans, because they'll pick up on that and be like, oh, I saw that guy back during Mando season 3, so I like it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it was awesome seeing the hyperspace anomaly or whatever the hell you want to call it when that little aftershock just, like you said, Milton, oh my gosh, they spared no expense on the budget for this thing, because that looked so cool seeing how those ships were just flying out of control.
Facts. No, I told my brother, I was like, listen, we need to get a hyperspace ring. I'm like, badass. I loved it. It was cool. One, how it looked and how they built it up. And my fear was it was going to take forever to build up. But then it was like,
yeah,
no, she's like started up and jumped. And I'm thinking, thank God, because you at least, if you built this machine, you at least want to get it powered up and go, especially knowing that the enemy's showing up. So I loved it. They did not waste time, and they shot through that. And I love how they went like around them, but through them.
Yeah.
That blast like knocked them out.
Oh man.
I think my brother mentioned something about. He's like, it reminded me of like Haldo or something. And
yeah.
But I'm like, this is why you still can't weaponize hyperspace or something. Like, you can't just weaponize it all the time, because that's a cheat.
Yeah.
This wasn't a weaponizing. This was just them using it, but it's the electrical magnetic shock. That makes sense. So I love that.
It was awesome because they even show the after effects, like they're looking out into space and you can see like a tear in space itself. We've never seen that in Star Wars. When a ship jumps to hyperspace, it just goes so small you can't see it anymore. But the fact that it actually affects space itself, like, oh my gosh, this thing has what did they say? It has like 9 Super Star Destroyer hyperspace cores or something like that. So we haven't seen anything to that magnitude tapping into hyperspace. And you know, through things like the High Republic, there's the Nile that are the faction that use something called the Path, which is like a different kind of way to tap into hyperspace, and it looks also different there. So I really just dig in general that Star Wars recently has kind of gone out of their way to show like different ways of hyperspace at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean it's cool just seeing, you know, that entire sequence was great, and then, you know, like you said, it's like 9 Super Star Destroyer hyperdrives. It's like, man, you better buckle in if you're inside that ship, because
Jeez.
that is going to be like speeding. So it's just cool, like seeing that, and it's nice too. Like even the build up, you know, I'm not sure like if you meant like say the build up Milton like over multiple episodes or just this episode, but it's nice that they got this done in one episode, so it's not drug out to say the 7th episode and then we get them to jump and then the final episode be where Thrawn and them are. Like it's nice that they already made the jump now.
Yeah, what I meant to say, and I see what you're saying. My point was, it didn't take them forever to boot up the hyper, like the like, because you know how some you know how with shows will say, all right, it takes us 8 minutes, and that 8 minutes turns into like 15 minutes of an episode, right?
Yeah.
This is like, no, just turn the damn thing on, prime it, and go. Like it, like it's kind of like a diesel truck. You turn on a diesel truck, it takes like a minute or 2 to get it going, and then you go. You don't play around. So I loved it. I loved how they didn't let it drag out, because that could have been an easy trope to make this episode feel more dramatic, especially to give them, quote unquote, the rebels some hope that they can stop this, which you're not stopping a hyperspace ring with 5 X-Wings and the ghost ship. Miss me with that. So that was my point. And yeah, I'm glad that they just got to the point, did their jump, and now they're going to go to find Ezra and Thrawn.
Yeah.
Also, guys, like seeing it in action, you know, just the way it moved, you know, the fact that like, you know, it worked properly and everything, I think it solidifies like my idea coming into this when we started seeing the Eye of Sion. Like they have to be putting it around the Chimera.
Oh yeah.
I think that's what that's for. Like it's got to be for the Chimera to bring it back. Like, because what else would they need it? I mean, obviously maybe to travel, but you know, I feel like it has to be for Thrawn's capital ship.
I get why they're doing it, like to move the ship, but why is the ship so important? Why aren't they just going there in some other ship to pick up Thrawn, Ezra, and whoever else is there? Paleon's still in this galaxy, but like it's just a regular Star Destroyer. I mean, maybe in this version of Star Wars it isn't. Maybe she had word that they do have something they have to transport back or something like that. But that's where it's boggling in my mind. It's like in canon, we know it's just a regular Imperial class Star Destroyer. Aren't there hundreds of those lying around Corellia shipyards? They could just get a bunch of people to steal one and go out. Like I don't know.
Well, how many? Do you guys remember? Like, so for the end of Rebels, was it just the Chimera that got sucked away by the?
No, it was a bunch of stuff. Maybe it's a portal.
Yeah, I'll say maybe it's something to get. Like, because hypothetically, if Thrawn and Ezra survived, like some of the other people that got taken away probably survived too. So maybe it's for more, potentially. But
yeah, I'm thinking maybe if anybody out there is familiar with Mass Effect, the Mass Effects are literally the namesake of the game series, are these big like pseudo cannons that shoot ships into hyperspace, and you go in proximity of these things and they just shoot you off to wherever you want. So maybe the hyperspace gate thing, the Eye of Sion, is essentially that, and they'll be able to fly like an entire fleet through this ring one at a time, like they're going through like a Sonic game. Like they're gonna just fly through the ring and just start shooting, and next thing you know, the New Republic has like hundreds of Star Destroyers that just appeared out of nowhere. And then now it's like, how are you going to fight against that when you had 95% of your military decommissioned? Like what we see in the little ship scenes are their entire fleet. That's it. and it looks awesome. By the way, I've never mentioned how great those ship scenes look when we're getting that. What is it? Establishing shots of like the New Republic stuff going on with Hera. I love it every time. It's like you see the Nebula and cruisers. So anyway, can you imagine how what the hell is the New Republic going to do when they have an entire remnant Imperial fleet there with Thrawn?
Well, think about it, guys. Like, I mean, of course, like with Thrawn involved, I'm sure Dave talked to Zahn about this series and stuff. So like, maybe they did like kind of like it's like a pseudo katana fleet type deal. Like you said, maybe bringing back multiple ships instead of just the Chimera. Maybe it's like, hey, we bring back however many Star Destroyers that we possibly can bring, and then boom. Like you talk about a surprise for the New Republic having such a tiny fleet. Like this, like all of this to me is just like screaming it's going to be awesome, like this build up to the movie, like how big it's going to be, like, because we have this big building threat of Thrawn, and then now the New Republic is just like a fledgling New Republic at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course we got to talk about the ending. We're not going to leave without talking about the ending. The World Between Worlds. Milton,
Amazing.
go ahead.
Go
Tell us what your thoughts were on that sequence there.
Yo, I called that.
Ha!
I said it literally like ain't what the first week we talked about the preview. I was like, we're gonna get this. Because it makes sense, and I think and this is part of my my thoughts on that part and also my prediction. I loved it. Anakin looked great. I texted my brother a meme that said like Return of the King. He's like spoilers because he didn't watch it yet.
Oh no.
I'm like, I don't even care. Like and I just watch this shit because it's that good. Like the ending's perfect. And he was like, all right, I'll watch it. But I love seeing him. He looked great. I think they stole a shot from episode 3 though.
Oh, 100%, I think.
Oh really?
It had the one whenever they used when he was talking to Padme about, oh, you're so beautiful and you blah blah blah. It looked just like it, but I didn't care. He looked good. So I'm hoping with the technology being furthered, when we see him now moving and talking to her, it looks just like that, which I think it will. Love seeing World Between Worlds. It looks great in live action. I think I know this for a fact. My prediction is, I know for a fact of my prediction, this is going to happen. My prediction, they're going to use this World Between Worlds to probably set Ahsoka right in the sense of her getting over her guilt of leaving Anakin, getting over her guilt of her making a different choice. I think this is going to reassure her that she did the right thing. I think this is going to put a lot of closure to her to all her demons when it comes to dealing with what happened to Anakin. And I think obviously we're going to get a duel between, when I say duel, like we're going to see both roles of Anakin and Vader play out throughout this sequence.
Okay.
So I really think this is really going to show us a lot of character development for Ahsoka moving forward to set her mind right. But I love what it looked like. The ending was amazing. Can't wait for Tuesday.
Yeah, notice, Milton, how at the end of the credits, or at the beginning of the credits rather, they have the Darth Vader. Was it his breathing or the theme of Darth Vader, the Imperial March, or something was going that was like a little bit eerie, and I was like, oh, it's not all fun and games. Like the next episode is gonna have some Vader stuff, most likely.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's going. Well, look at him. I mean, he's wearing his Darth Vader lightsaber. He's not using his Anakin saber. If you go back,
Really?
He's got the Vader lightsaber.
What?
Yes.
I thought it looked like it too.
Oh
Like,
crap!
wrong.
All right, let me look at this right now.
Yeah, like zoom in, because I thought it looked like that too, but I could be wrong.
Because I was thinking like, oh, everything looked bright, and I'm like, why does he look dark like on his side? And I didn't see an all silver saber. I'm like, oh my god, that's the Vader saber with like the more black on the hilt. So they're going to get some dualness of like in and out Vader, some Anakin here. I think they're going to use it correctly to show like these are the different outcomes of what could have happened if you would have stayed. You could save them. And you're probably going to get her scared a whole bunch of times throughout this episode. You're going to get some like small comforting moments from Anakin, but it's going to be like kind of like a weird, like I hope it's like a spooky, scary type thing, because it would make sense being in this type of world. So
Yep.
yeah.
Oh yeah, like I completely agree with all your points you just made there, Milton. Like I'm so like I absolutely loved the ending. I thought it was great. I loved Ahsoka's reaction to Anakin. I thought that was great. Like it just felt like Ahsoka. Um, and then like just the fact that we're gonna be getting Anakin and her this coming week, and it makes you wonder. Like, I feel like we're gonna get predominantly Anakin and Ahsoka this coming episode. Like, I think I would be. I mean, maybe we get 5 minutes with the bad guys, if that, just showing them arrive to where they're gonna get maybe. But I could see us getting like predominantly just Anakin and Ahsoka stuff, for the most part, and it opens the possibilities up. Like, there's so many possibilities with the World Between Worlds, because you have all these moments in time, and it's just like, man, we could literally like see anything go anywhere, basically, like see any type of stuff. And then the fact that like you said, the Vader, the intro a bit to the Vader music was starting at the credits, so it just makes you wonder what that implies. Like, are they going to, like, are we gonna see Anakin? Maybe we see like a alternate version or something of like Anakin, like the fall to him becoming Vader. Like, maybe Ahsoka witnesses, like, she sees the Anakin like chopping off Mace's hand scene or something. Like, maybe it's something along those lines, or maybe I don't know. There's just like so many countless things you could choose from, and it's just like, I wonder what we're going to actually end up seeing in the World Between Worlds, because we have, like I said, it's like 46 minutes, probably 47 minutes, so it's a long episode. So it's just like, man, I don't know, I think we're in for something really good.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I really think it's going to be the Clone Wars live action thing we've all been waiting for. I think we're going to see Tamora Morrison's Captain Rex. There's going to be like a new battle that we haven't seen in Clone Wars before, where it's like all the people are back. I mean, hell, they can even throw Ewan McGregor in there. Why not? Just have the whole crew.
Makes sense. I think this is the episode to do it. Episode 5 and 6 will be the ones to do it, to really then set up the crescendo of this series.
Yeah, I mean, they're having this in movie theaters across the nation for a reason. This is not going to be just some like little episode. Like, there's going to be some big ass battle that's going to look amazing on a big screen, and there's going to be some really big moments where people are going to lose their minds when certain characters go on the screen that you never even really thought of in live action, right?
I mean, imagine us now seeing, because I know they casted a young person to play Ahsoka, like a young version. So like, we're going to see Anakin and her back during the Clone Wars. I mean, that's a given. And then having Obi-Wan there. So again, seeing Hayden, Ewan McGregor, and like a young actress playing, while Ahsoka or Rosario Dawson watching this, and she's like, "Oh my God, I remember this training sequence," or "Oh, I remember this battle with Rex." That type of stuff. Like, imagine us as fans who are in our 30s, or some in our 40s, who are now with the kids who are now 20s, who grew up watching this show and be like, "Damn, like, we're really getting this live action component of it. Like, how dope is that going to be?" And you don't put this in the theaters just to show us some people flying around once in a while. You show it because you got the main bosses in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, like, I think this episode is going to be really special. Like, I really do, like, because like there's just so much, like you said, it's like you both said, it's the coming to the theaters. They're not going to go in and put in a slow episode or like a non-engaging episode in a movie theater. Like, it's got to be something that's going to get people buzzing, talking, yeah, like, I just think it's going to be really, really good. Like, because there's so much potential. Like, we're going to get, like, with Star Wars, especially with Dave being involved, like, he's going to throw some nostalgia bait stuff, like, to probably like nostalgia to the prequels, probably. Like, it's going to be so good, I think, just because, you have all that going on. You have the mystery of the World Between Worlds. Just overall how they're going to even do it. Like, now that we're going to actually see Ahsoka walking around. And it kind of is interesting because, like, it kind of puts like a perspective on, like, okay, so this is kind of what, if you go back and watch the World Between Worlds episode now from Rebels, now you can kind of like imagine it in live action. So yeah, I mean, we have that. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's gonna be really good. And then, Milton, like you were saying, like, there's talks about like the young Ahsoka. I'm pretty sure I know who the actress is that might be playing that character. If you didn't hear already, I mean, we'll see on Tuesday, but it sounds, spoiler spoiler alert for anybody not wanting to hear it. Like mute me for like 10 seconds, but it sounds like it's one of the girls from Barbie actually. Um, so, you have that.
Look, I've never seen that movie, so I don't care.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's probably just gonna be like whatever. But anyways, so yeah, so you have that. Um, and I don't know. I just think it's gonna be really good. Like I can't wait to see how they use Anakin. Like you said, Milton, it looks like they potentially like repurpose some Revenge of the Sith stuff. So it just makes you wonder, what they're gonna end up doing with
Well,
Anakin. And
if obviously he's going to be quote unquote like a spiritual
like the mentor or something.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like obviously when he's in the world, you can pull that off with the tech. You can make him look younger, like for sure. It's the live action part which we know they got the technology to make him look like he's 22 again. So you can do that. I mean, that's why I feel like with the budget that we've gotten so far, there's no way he looks like he's 40 years old Hayden Christensen. There's no way they pull that. There's no way they do that. Because that'd be a travesty, because they did that in Obi-Wan, which you can clearly see it. They did their best, but it's still not enough. But there's no way that they make him look older than what, like, come on, you have to. You got the money. I mean, this is the crown jewel of Star Wars right now.
Yep.
You got to pull it off, because you made Luke Skywalker look real good in Mando season 3.
Yep.
No.
Book of Boba Fett.
Book of Boba Fett, yes. He looked, well, that's season 3. He looked so Luke looked so good in that.
Yep.
You can tell it was somebody else. So
Yeah. I mean, like the thing about that is too. It's just like they can. It just matters what shots they use when it comes down to those type of things. Like Luke, like say in Mando season 2, Luke, the technology was kind of early on for season 2, but they were able to cover up some of the flaws in the shots because you're doing Luke inside of a ship, so it's darker. You don't have to worry. But the fact that then in Book of Boba Fett, we see Luke and he's out in the open sunlight, and they hit it, and it's like, whoa! So they have the tech to do it. So it just makes you wonder what they'll do, because presumably, like you both were saying, especially like you, Milton, like it makes you wonder like what they're going to be doing, like say in the quote unquote like live action, like when Anakin and Ahsoka are like potentially like looking in on an event. Like it's gonna be interesting to see what they do. Like how are they going to make Anakin look when they're looking in on an event potentially? Like that's what I'm interested to see.
Aiden, he's 40-ish. So he's 41. He ain't that hard to make look young.
No, definitely not.
He's saying like he can add some touch ups.
Yeah, it's just a little makeup. He looks way younger.
How and I will lose my shit next episode if this looks bad, because there's lots on this particular platform of YouTube that can edit the hell out of these characters and make them look real good. And it's like, damn, you got people that use their home computers that have no money that can make characters look young, and you can't do it with the budget of Lucasfilm or Disney. Miss me with that. Hell, they did it with Harrison Ford in the new Indiana Jones movie.
Yep.
I haven't seen it yet, but I saw the shots, and people said he looked like he was
It was great.
Ford of 1989.
It was great.
Yep.
Like, you can do it.
I think the whole resolution of what happens with this episode, Between Worlds, is we get the white, the Ahsoka the White, as if you will, kind of like how Dave Filoni loves pulling back from Tolkien lore with Middle Earth and Lord of the Rings, and I thought it was interesting that we got basically the last shot of Star Wars Rebels season 4, the finale of the portrait, the mural of the Rebels. And in Rebels, it's Ahsoka the White with the staff. But in this, it was just regular Ahsoka. So it's like, that was interesting. But I think this would be way more impactful if this is like that trial for Ahsoka. And she gets to the other side. And she's so much wiser now. And hence that she dons the white. And for whatever reason that she experiences in the world between worlds. And then you have Ahsoka the White again. So that's my kind of theory on what will happen, and it'll be a really cool moment for the fans. Like, yes.
Oh yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to be heading along that way because, you mentioned it earlier, Milton, when we got into this whole world between worlds talk. Like, it feels like they're gonna they're going to use the World Between Worlds, this whole thing, to like give Ahsoka her little journey, halfway through the season, and it's going to kind of like do not like a reset to the character, but kind of like make her like forgive her for her like past issues, like say with Sabine, with the Jedi, with whatever. So then like she can potentially move on, and then I think this is like kind of her journey back to becoming a Jedi again, where it's going to be like, hey, she's like coming full circle, like you said, going to become like Ahsoka the White.
Oh yeah. Well, I think it's time to wrap things up and give a score on episode 4, Fallen Jedi. I'll throw it over to Milton first. What were your thoughts overall? And if you could give it a score out of 10, what would you give it?
Yeah. So overall, I thought this was a really, really good episode. Best episode of the series. I mean, and one of the best episodes of Star Wars television.
Mm-hmm.
I know Mando season 1 and 2 had a lot of those particular episodes, so it's kind of hard to compare it to that show because that's a different type of show. But this is one of the best episodes of Star Wars I've seen from beginning, middle to end. I was not bored. I was not complaining. I was very much engaged, as you should be with a mini series like this. Every episode counts. I've been saying it since day one of any series that we've watched together on this podcast. Every episode matters, and this episode really, really mattered, and it was pushing the narrative. I'm going to say that till I'm blue in the face. It pushed the narrative. Love the action, love the production, love the music, love the character development that we've gotten in this particular episode. Hopefully that moves forward and we can continue to see more motivations. And I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with the World Between Worlds and what Thrawn and Ezra is going to be like once we get to meet them. So I'm really excited for what the second half of the season could be. Overall, this was a 10 out of 10. There's no ands or buts about it. Some people may say, "Oh, you're BSing." No, perfect episode. I recommend this to one. It's rewatchable.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I would make sure if I just knew a regular Star Wars fan or even a non-Star Wars fan, I would recommend this episode and say, watch this. And I bet you, from my money in my pocket right now, they would say this is a really, really good episode.
That's high praise, man, because I think coming into it, we gave the first couple episodes maybe a 7 or an 8. And the idea that you could introduce this to anybody, because like I said before, this has those kind of feelings, those moments, the emotional impact of what makes Star Wars great for us, those duels that have meaning behind it, that the cool space moments, some pretty good dialogue, and just really good lore all folded into, like Ben said, an episode that was under 40 minutes. Hey, the pacing was incredible. I guess I'll just kind of go off on my whole spiel here. Pacing was incredible. Action was awesome. Music was great. Revelation after revelation. Some of the best Star Wars confrontation. The big choice. It reminded me a lot of, Vader offering to Luke to join him, his father and son, to defeat the Emperor. Like that kind of level of stakes and drama. We don't see that kind of level of drama in a lot of Star Wars, but man, oh man, I felt it magnified on this one. I'm giving this a 9.5 only because, as I said in the beginning of this, Milton, every episode has gotten better and better and better for me. And I feel like next week is going to be so special. So I'm just holding off on that 0.5 of a point because I don't know if next week will be a 10 out of 10 for me. But there you have it. What about you?
Can't get mad at you for that.
I mean, that's a good point. For me, the episode was easily a 10. Like when you were watching it, I mean, it would have been at minimum a 9 without the ending scene with Anakin, in my opinion. But the episode, I would say overall is a 10, just for all the reasons we all mentioned throughout this entire show, like the characters, the action, the character choices. I think an interesting point I just thought of actually on the spot, Chris, you made me think about it, actually, is, so, it's kind of like mirroring the Luke choice versus Vader, but Sabine, like Yoda talks about, like taking like the easy path and stuff. So it makes you wonder if Sabine could have a negative outcome long term in this series because she took the easy path to go see her friend. It makes me wonder that, like, will we get ramifications for her because she like hit the easy button, like, oh, I'll just basically go with these guys so I can go see Ezra. So it makes you wonder. It makes me wonder that now that you just said that. But I mean, we have those implications with Sabine's character. We have all the villains. We have Ahsoka's journey. And we just have like the overall world between worlds thing coming into it. Like, do we have, like I saw some, we talked about it in our intermission, but like someone had commented about, is this like one of the Mortis people instead of Anakin? And it, there's a potential for that, just because it's like it's Dave Filoni, and it's just like, all right, what's going on here? Like, because it could be Anakin or it could be like a Mortis person. So like there's that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I just think overall the episode's really good. And like I said, it's a 10 for sure. Top tier Star Wars, top 3 Star Wars under Disney, like in terms of like shows. And then just to like throw out there a little breadcrumb for our listeners who are listening live, and then you two, like, trust me on this. Like, I heard something, and let's just say you guys are gonna really like something that's in this next week's episode.
All right, I guess we'll leave it at that. But one last thing I want to say is the tension was also built just from the fact that there's no way of going back. Balin destroys the map, so it's gonna have to be Sabine that will end up saving the day. Oh, and one final thing. See, there's so much depth to this episode that you could really talk about it for such a long time. The idea that we don't get a lot of moments in Star Wars where the bad guys wins. I mean, yeah, it goes back to Empire Strikes Back, but this episode leaves off on a downer. Well, other than the Anakin Skywalker reveal, but up until that point, it's like the bad guys have won. They succeeded. It's up to the allies, and there's no way to get there. They destroy the only way there. So either Sabine's going to do something, or the bad guys are going to win, and they're going to bring back Thrawn, and that's how the series is going to end. And it's going to be like, oh crap.
That's the only way it needs to end.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah.
Because I think you guys said it's a movie that's coming out next.
You're right.
In that way, this has to be the Empire Strikes Back of building up that shared universe to what we're going to get in that movie. It just makes sense logically.
Yeah. All right, we got somebody in the chat named Sims. What if Palpatine exists in the world between worlds, and this is him disguised as Anakin? Just a thought. Oh man, I really like where your head is, man. That'd be crazy.
First of all, to that listener, that's a hell of a prediction, and that'd be kind of clutch though if they pulled that off. Just to
connect back with the Rebels too.
Yeah, that'd be in Rebels, but also to tease like, well, Palpatine's, he's around. I mean, people don't know he's around right now.
Mm-hmm.
Around. He's on Exegol. Imagine him now. This is one of his ways, instead of using clone technology, to come back. Like that. I mean, that makes sense.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
About that though, because Palpatine ain't stupid. You think he's just thinking clones is his only way of coming back? There's probably 5 or 6 ways. He always thought ahead.
Yeah.
Probably 5 he's looking at. Say, hey, if clones don't work out, I'm gonna use this. If this don't work out, I'm gonna use this. Well, world between worlds, maybe I can use that to go to my former body.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about how smart he is. He waited 30, 40 plus years to take over the Republic. You know what I'm saying? Like, he ain't stupid.
Oh man. Well.
So I like that idea.
Well, yeah, you could be like Sims, everybody out there that's listening. You could join us every Sunday live around 7 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/Starrapter here. And always go ahead and download the episodes after the fact, usually on Tuesday or Wednesday. I have them uploaded to anything like Spotify and Apple Music. Please give us a rate and review. It'll help spread the good word about our positive Star Wars community here. I also want to shout out Zap, Alex Elkins, and Christopher Weber for joining us in the chat this week. Good to see you guys in there having an awesome Star Wars discussion. I'll throw it over to Milton, man. I know it's this is your time of the year, but I can only expect what you'll probably be talking about. I think I've already seen a little bit about it today. But where can people find you online?
On Instagram or on Twitter. My Instagram is Milton7Weber. My Twitter is MiltonWeber7. Chris is right. Your boys always talking about them Eagles. Now that football season's here, let's go. 1-0. We should have beat the Patriots by 50, but we almost lost the damn game. I'm good now. I'm fine. My girl was here earlier watching it. She was actually invested. She don't even like football, but she actually was like invested. So that tells you something. But nah, find me on Instagram or on Twitter. I'm always talking about sports or working out. I haven't really posted a workout in a while, but I appreciate all the people that follow us, listen to
Mhm.
our podcast, or watch it. Share it with your friends, share it with your family. If you want a good, positive place to talk Star Wars, this is the place, because we all disagree. We all have different opinions, but at the same time, this is a safe place to be yourself. So we appreciate you guys who are always coming back every Sunday.
There you go, man. Good to have you back. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me talking Star Wars and sports and fitness on Twitter at Real Ben Maynard, and then Instagram. I'll usually try to post my workouts there at Real Ben Maynard as well. And yeah, it's a good time always like talking Star Wars to like end the weekend, and then right now for the next few weeks we'll be able to talk Star Wars, and then 2 days later watch new episodes of Star Wars. So it's like a prime time to to be on here talking, and it's always a good time every week.
Heck yeah, and you can find me if you're watching on the very same channel that you're watching this live stream. Every week I'll be posting the comics that came out this week. And we'll see what else I get up to in the next couple weeks here. Participating with my Star Wars Shatterpoint stuff, the local community here, the game store, having a lot of fun over there. And as I said off the top of the show, me and Matthew from Ion Cannon, which is part of the Star Wars Underworld Network, every Thursday around noontime, we're doing a lunchtime podcast talking about the latest releases of comics that week. So if you want to get more of an in-depth discussion, in addition to my little recaps I post, then make sure you go ahead over there at the Star Wars Underworld and check us out on YouTube. So yeah, that will do it for Ben, for Milton, for Chris, aka Starrapter. That's gonna do it for Outer Rim Transmission episode 121. Thanks for watching, everybody. May the Force be with you. End transmission.